All right, so we'll begin with our prayers as usual, dedicated to our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Narasimhaiti Namine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayatim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, everybody, again. Welcome to our session again. This is Gita Gyan level 2, and it's a special topic. So we are going to discuss about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I was thinking that this topic would be suitable because we completed the Gita Mahatmya chapters 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So in there, a lot of description has been given about Krishna, that Krishna himself, he tells about himself. He introduces his position and in relation with the devotees. So therefore, here's a compilation of something about the Supreme Lord. Why Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not anybody else. So this is for our strengthening of our own faith, and also for ease of preaching to others, to convince other people as well about the position of the Supreme Lord. Because, a lot of people sometimes think that Krishna is just a ordinary historical figure. So there are some people who would like to go about and spread this kind of information, that Krishna is just another ordinary person, historical person. And yes, he is a historical person. So he came about 5,300 something years ago, and even his astrological position is also captured. So in this way, he was a real person. But at the same time, he was not an ordinary person, just like the rest of us. There is a very special position about the Lord. So why is Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So here I have compiled a number of reasons or a number of arguments which we can present about why we worship the Supreme Lord, why we see Krishna as the ultimate personality of Godhead. So because, well, one reason why we accept him as the Supreme Lord, there are many. The first reason I thought I would like to point out is because great ones say so. Other great personalities, because usually when we accept something, where do we accept something? How do we accept something? Usually we read about something, you know, what is our process of gaining knowledge? If we want to know something, like for example, if we want to ask, if we are born and we are growing up, we want to know who our parents are, who our father is. So if we want to know who our father is, the easiest thing to do is to ask the mother. So the mother will tell you directly, okay, this is your father, not this one, this is your uncle, this is your Peripa, or this is your somebody else. So this is your father. So it's easy. Otherwise, if the mother doesn't say, then how is the child going to find out? It's going to be a very long, difficult process, isn't it? So one can try by experiment. One can try by asking, preparing a questionnaire and asking about, but these are all roundabout processes. So one of the easiest ways is to accept authority, not just accept anyone. We don't just accept anyone who says so. Like for example, we ask the mother, because the mother is the authority when it comes to telling you who your father is, isn't it? So therefore, the Vedas are known as the mother. Like we have the, you know, Shruti. Shruti is known as the mother. So you want to know who the father is, you ask the mother. The Shruti will explain. Okay. But sometimes we don't get access to the Shruti directly. So initially we would want to hear what other people say. So there are great personalities. We want to hear great personalities of what they say. So here I'm quoting a verse from Vishnu Purana. We can begin nicely with the verse. Yo ayam tavagato deva samipam devata ganaha satvam eva jagat shrasta yataha sarvagato bhavan. Whoever comes before you, even if he be a demigod, is created by you, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is said by various personalities. So first of all, we want to see what Indra has to say. Now, Indra is not an ordinary personality. He is actually the king of heaven. And for us to appreciate that, it's not something which is ordinary. Like we know, you know, we have the prime minister, we have the king, or we have the president, or we have the leader of the world, or the king of the world. So Indra is the king of the entire heavenly planets. There are many controllers. On earth, we have many controllers, Ishwaras, people who control our lives, right? We have our boss, we have our the health minister, we have our prime minister. So all these people, they tell us what we need to do. But in heaven, these are great controllers. They control not only earth, they control many other planetary systems. Bhuloka, all the different planets in Bhuloka, and then on top of that Bhuvarloka, and then on top of that Swargaloka, and amongst all of them, the king of Swargaloka is Indra. And to get the position of Indra is not ordinary. It takes a lot of, you know, we have read in other places, you know, how one have to perform 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas. Then only one gets the position of Indra. Very, very powerful personality. He is like the holder of Vajra. Vajra is this lightning weapon, right? This is the personification of the lightning weapon. He holds lightning weapon. So even in other societies also, even in Greek culture and in Roman culture, right? We have the king of heaven. In Greek culture, he's known as Zeus or Jupiter. Roman culture is known as Zeus, right? So that's Indra. And he is the wielder of the lightning, the thunderbolt. So therefore, you know, here's another picture of Indra, a very powerful personality, right? And what does he say? So Lord Indra says here, This is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, 27-13. This happened right after Indra tried to inundate the village of Vrindavan with flood waters, flooding. So recently we've had flooding also. So you can see how when we had flood, nothing could be done, right? No one could help anyone. For all the technology and for all the whatever planning and everything, human society becomes defeated when flood waters start to rise. So Indra, he controls the rain, and he brought about the greatest, most powerful rain clouds, which is used to destroy the earth at the end of the time. And this inundated the entire Vrindavan. But simply, Lord Krishna, he just lifted the Govardhan hill and he used this as an umbrella. And in this way, and then Anantasesh went and encircled the entire Vrindavan land and formed like a dam, like a wall, so that the flood waters cannot come. So in this way, he protected. And after Lord Indra was defeated, then he came to his senses and he realized the real position of Lord Krishna. This is what he says. "O Lord, you have shown mercy to me by shattering my false pride and defeating my attempt to punish Vrindavan. To you, the Supreme Lord, Spiritual Master and Supreme Soul, I have now come for shelter." So this is what the King of Heaven himself says to Lord Krishna. So like that, we have other great personalities. Even greater than Indra is Brahma. He is the one who created the entire universe, the engineer of the universe, right? So the blueprints were given by Krishna to Brahma, but it was Brahmadev who created all the different 7 higher planetary systems, the Bhuloka planetary systems, as well as the lower planetary systems, including the hellish planets, everything. So this is, and all the living entities, the bodies, the material bodies, and all that was created by Lord Brahma. So he's the ultimate engineer and architect of this universe. And this is what Brahma says. Ishvaraha paramaha Krishnaha Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karana. So Brahma says, I worship you, Krishna, Govinda. You are the source of everything, Anadir Adir Govinda, and you are the cause of all causes. So in this way, Lord Brahma says, and here we have another verse, Brahma, Brahma Samhita 5:33. Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedeshu durlabha adurlabha atma bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Translation is this one. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas. It's very difficult to understand the real personality of Godhead through the Vedas. Hints are given, clues are given, but ultimately the Lord is only obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul. And who is this person? This person is without a second, who is not subject to decay, without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is, although he's so old and everything, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. So this is the verse Brahma uses to describe Lord Krishna, Govinda. And here we have another prayer, right? You can see this picture of how Lord Brahma offers prayers to Krishna after he tried to take away the cowherd boys and cows. You know, we've talked about the story in level 1 before, how Brahma steals the cowherd boys and how he steals the cows, and then he hides them in a cave, and then he sees ultimately they are all again manifested. Lord Krishna, he expands himself into all of them. So another verse where he says, I worship Govinda. So like that. And then even greater than Brahma is Lord Shiva. Now Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity like all of us. He is not Jiva. He's not even Jiva. He's a totally different category. So we understand there is the Lord, Vishnu Tattva, and then there is Jiva Tattva. But Lord Shiva is somewhere in between. He is having his own Tattva. He's called Shiva Tattva. And what is the Shiva Tattva? He is, the description is given, he is as good as Krishna, as good as the Lord, as good as Vishnu, but not quite. So, and he is not one of the living entities. So he's beyond Brahma even. So therefore, here's a nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. To understand this verse, right? What's that verse? Shiram Yata, can you say it loudly? Right, so that's another verse from Brahma Samhita. That was my son, so Prahlad. So anyway, that's another verse from Brahma Samhita where Lord Brahma describes just like how Dadi Vikara, Dadi means yogurt. Now, Vishnu is compared to like milk and Lord Shiva is compared to like yogurt. So how does yogurt form? Yogurt forms when milk is added culture, isn't it? So then we get yogurt. From milk, you can get yogurt. But from yogurt, we cannot get milk. So in the same way, from Vishnu, Lord Shiva comes. But Lord Shiva, he's almost as good as Lord Vishnu, just like coming from milk only. But this is how it happens. We will talk about this in detail in another special topic, which we will discuss after chapter 13, 14, 15 is covered. Then I will discuss about the Shaktis, the energies of the Lord. We talk about creation. So in the process of material creation, Lord Vishnu, he never associates directly with matter. But in order for material creation to take place, right? So there is some association with matter. So when Lord Vishnu and matter mixes, then Lord Shiva takes form. So Lord Shiva is also eternal, and we will discuss this in detail in another special topic later on about the special position of Lord Shiva. So anyway, so Vaishnava, Lord Shiva is also known as, he is as good as the Lord, but is not quite the Lord. So therefore, he is the greatest Vaishnava. He is known as Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. So that's Lord Shiva. And here, this is what Lord Shiva is praying. So the transformation is permanent. When Lord Vishnu expands himself into Lord Shiva through the agency of mixing with the material modes of nature, then that transformation is permanent. So he becomes Shiva, Shiva Tattva, a separate expansion. So here, Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.3.23. I am always engaged. Sattve cha tasmin Bhagavan Vasudevo. So Lord Shiva is praying here. I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. Sattve. Sattve means pure Krishna consciousness or pure modes. He adoksajo me namasa vidiyate. Namasa means offering obeisances. So the Lord Shiva is always engaged in this way. So, and here there's another verse. Tvam eka ahadya purusha supta shaktis. My dear Lord, you are the only supreme person, the cause of all causes. So, adya purusha, tam, tvam, that means you, eka, only, adya, the original person, purusha. Purusha means the supreme enjoyer and the original person. So this is how Lord Shiva himself accepts the Supreme Lord. And here there's also another verse. Sri Rudra Uvacha Jitam ta Atma Vidvarya Swastaye Swastirastu me Bhavatharat Basharadham Sarvashma Atmane Namaha. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. you are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for the self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. So that's why we see Lord Shiva, he is always situated in a meditative posture. So one might wonder, what is he meditating on? So he is actually meditating on a particular expansion of the Supreme Lord. If you read Bhagavatam, it will say that Lord Shiva is always meditating on Sankarshan. Sankarshan is one of the expansions of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu has 4 primary expansions known as the Chaturvyuha, and Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, and Pradyumna. So Sankarshan is one of those, and Sankarshan represents the ego. So in this material creation, right, the false ego that we all have comes from Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva worships Sankarshan. Meditating on Sankarshan, he develops the power of controlling the element of false ego, ahamkara. So it becomes a bit technical, but we don't want to go into that technical aspect at this stage. So the point here is Lord Shiva is always meditating on the Supreme Lord. And there are many, many verses which illustrates this point. So here is one of them. Here's another one. And then in the same verse, he continues by saying, you are worshipable by virtue of the all perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you as the supreme living being. So these are the opinions of Lord Indra, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. Very, very great personalities, the greatest personalities you can find within this material creation other than the Supreme Lord. But it's not just secret knowledge which is only available to these great personalities. It is open to others as well. So even other sages, the Munis and the sages headed by Vyasa, they also acknowledge the Supreme Lord Krishna as the personality of Godhead. So here is the first verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have Srimad Bhagavatam, as you already know, is the Amala Purana, is the last word of Vedanta. Veda Anta. Veda Anta means the last word of Veda. So whatever that is described in Vedanta, the full description, the ultimate point, the ultimate goal of Vedanta is described as Srimad Bhagavatam. So Vyasadeva wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam to elaborate the goal of the Veda. And this is the very first verse. The last verse of the Vedanta and the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is identical. So this is to indicate once again the connectivity between the Vedas, the Vedanta, and Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the same verse which also appears in the Vedanta Sutra, and it is a Gayatri mantra. It appears in this form. You can see here, Satyam Param Dhimahi. These are words which are used as part of the Gayatri mantra. This is the only Purana which begins with the Gayatri mantra to indicate the special position of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let me say the verse for you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadi Asya Yato Anyavat Itaratas Charteshu Abhijñā Swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatshurayah Tejovari Mridam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Amrisa Dhamna Savena Sada Nirashtakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So the translation of this verse, O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances to you. I meditate upon Lord Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is the supreme independent Swarat. because there is no other cause beyond him. So it is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji. So Vyasadeva continues these verses from this verse, right? Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Adi. Originally, he is the one who gave this knowledge into the heart, Hrida. Hrida means heart of Brahma. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. So even the devatas, up to even Lord Shiva sometimes, can be put into illusion to suit the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Vyasadeva, he's saying this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is his ultimate conclusion. And then he continues, only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes appear. So like that, he goes on and he says, I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So this is the conclusion of Veda Vyas. And he is the one who compiled the entire Vedic literatures. And this is the ultimate conclusion. So other sages, so then what about other sages? So in Bhagavad Gita, if you remember, chapter 10, 12 to 13, the verses, Arjuna says, right? Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. Oh, Arjuna himself says, you are the Param Brahma, the ultimate truth. You are the Param Dhamma, the ultimate abode. You are Pavitram, the supremely purifying. You are Paramam Bhavan, you are the ultimate destination. Purusham, you are the ultimate enjoyer. Shashvatam, original Purusham. Divyam, transcendental, that means nothing material about you. Adi Devam, original, the original Lord. Ajam, without birth. Vibhum, the greatest. Then he says, Ashito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravisime. So Arjuna said, all the great sages, such as Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. So these are all the greatest among sages. And they are all saying the same thing. So the conclusion is the same. And then, of course, we remember how Arjuna, he glorifies the Supreme Lord after hearing the Bhagavad Gita. He says many things, right? He says, you are the supreme primal objective, you're inexhaustible, the oldest, you are the maintainer of eternal religion. You're greater even than Brahma, you're the original creator, right? O limitless one, God of gods, refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, cause of all causes. So like that, he goes on, many, many beautiful prayers. These are all prayers which we can try to memorize also. And we can say it for the deity when we see the deity, when we pray to the deity. So it's very nice. Tvam, Adi Deva, Purusha, Purana. So like that, all these verses go on glorifying the Supreme Lord. So I'll skip these verses. We can read them. I'll send the notes later. You can read them if you like. So what other reason do we accept the Supreme Lord? Okay, Lord Shiva has said so, Brahma has said so, Indra has said so, Veda Vyas and all the sages have said so, most of the sages have said so, okay? But what else? Because it's the conclusion of scripture. So if we look at scripture, if let's say, okay, you're saying all these things, what about scripture itself? What does scripture say? What does other parts of scripture say? So of course, Veda Vyas himself wrote the scriptures. We already know his conclusion, the conclusion of the author. But what does he say in other parts, right? If let's say, okay, let's look at Srimad Bhagavatam first. There are many, many, many evidences, but I will just compile them into Bhagavatam and the Vedas. So from Bhagavatam, here's a nice verse. Canto 1, chapter 2, verses 28 and 29. Vasudeva Para Veda. So he is the ultimate goal of the Vedas. Vasudeva. What's the ultimate goal of the Vedas? Vasudeva. Para Veda. Vasudeva Para Makaha. Makaha means sacrifices. What's the goal? What's the ultimate goal of all sacrifices? Vasudeva. That means all fire sacrifices, from our wedding, for our birth ceremony, naming ceremony, death ceremony, everything, all the fire sacrifices, whatever sacrifices that we perform, our job and everything, it's all ultimately for the goal of pleasing Vasudeva. He's the ultimate goal. Haritoshanam, samsiddhir haritoshanam, is to please the Supreme Lord, to please Hari. Vasudeva para yoga, the ultimate goal of all yogic postures, practice, all kinds of everything is ultimately to eventually attain Vasudeva. Vasudeva para kriyaha. Kriyaha means all fruitive activities, all cleansing, purificatory processes, kriyas. These are all ultimately is to attain Vasudeva only. Vasudeva para jnanam, the goal of all knowledge is ultimately to attain Vasudeva. Vasudeva param tapaha, the goal of all greatest austerities is to attain Vasudeva. Vasudeva para dharmo, what's the purpose of religiosity? Dharma, righteousness, morality, ultimately is to attain and please Lord Vasudeva. And Vasudeva para gatihi, he is the ultimate goal. Gati, paragati, the ultimate. So that is very nicely a good conclusion of the position of the Supreme Lord. And then we have also many verses from the Rig Veda. Here's a very interesting verse from the Rig Veda, which is from the Paingiharasya Brahmana section. In the Brahmana section itself, so Eko havai Narayana asinna Brahmana cha Shankaraha. So here it says only Narayana was there, not Brahma, not Shiva. Eko, only, ha, vai, Narayana, asin. Not Brahma, no, not Shankara. Shankara is Lord Shiva. And then from the Samaveda, Mahopanishad, Eko, ha, vai, Narayana, asinna Brahma na isho anu. Only Narayana was there. It repeats the same point again. So that's why I particularly chose this. There are other verses as well, but this interesting verse again comes because, not everybody is able to remember everything in the Vedas. So in those days, not so many years ago, few hundred years ago, just even few hundred years ago, the number of Shruti Dara means those who can remember the Vedas, photographic memory, that has reduced over the years. Previously, there were many people who had photographic memories. They could just hear once and they could remember everything they heard. So in this way, the Vedas, the 4 Vedas were memorized. But over the years, people cannot memorize so much already. So there were only those who could memorize only one Veda. So like that, there is Eka Veda, Dvi Veda, Tri Veda, and Chatur Veda. So someone who could memorize all 4 Vedas, they are called Shrutidar or Chatur Veda. Someone who could memorize only one Veda, they are called as Eka Veda. So like that, sometimes there was a risk that people would not be able to hear other parts of the Vedas. So just to ensure that the key point is captured in all the Vedas, so therefore you can see the same point also mentioned in the Samaveda. Almost identical verse. Only Narayana was there, Ashina Brahma, na Ishano. Ishan, Lord Shiva is also known as Ishan. And then we also have in the Yajur Veda, particularly in the Narayana Upanishad section. So here we have this verse. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayana. Again, the same point and the same type of wordings and the same type of words are repeated in Yajur Veda. Eko vai Narayana asin na Brahma na Ishano. Identical to the Samaveda almost. Right? There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no fire, no moon, no stars in the sky, no sun. So it elaborates a little more further. There was only Krishna who creates all and enjoys all. Right? So like this. And then this verse also comes in the Yajur Veda. Brahmanyo Devaki Putra. So here it says Devaki Putra, the son of Devaki, Krishna, he is the ultimate truth, Brahmanyo, mentioned in the Yajurveda. And then we have this verse also comes in the Yajurveda. Narayanat Brahma Jayate, Narayanat Prajapatihi, Prajayate, Narayanat Indro Jayate, Narayanat Asto Vasavo Jayante, Narayanat Ekadasha Rudra Jayante, Narayanat. So like that, it says here, Brahma is born out of Narayana. So that one is very obvious. We can see how Lord Brahma comes from the lotus, right, from the navel of Narayana. And then Prajapati also is born from Narayana. Prajapatis are all those who are responsible to populate the universe. Like, you know, the Daksha, the Manus, so the sons of Brahma, the various children of Brahma. So these are all Prajapati, also come ultimately from Narayana. Indro Jayate. Jayate means to take birth. Indra also comes ultimately from Narayana. Of course, immediately he comes from, you know, but the ultimate point was the ultimate source is Narayana. And then like that, Vasus, the Asta Vasus. Vasus are the 8 Vasus are a class of Devatas. The leader of that Vasu is Dew, and they all have special powers. So, and these 8 Vasus are also coming from the Lord. Narayana Ekadasha Rudra, the 11 Rudras are also coming from Narayana. So like that, many verses which talk about the ultimate point. And then this is from the Atharva Veda. So we covered Rig, Sama, Yajur, and this is the Atharva Veda. The Gopala Tapani Upanishad from the Atharva Veda. Let's see what it says. Om Namah. I offer my respectful obeisances to Krishna. Here, the word Krishna is specifically used, Gopal, whose form is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss, who is the rescuer from distress, who is understood by Vedanta, who is the supreme spiritual master, and who is the witness in everyone's heart. So this is very clear in the Gita, in the Gopala Tapani Upanishad, the first verse. And then it goes on, Om. Some sages said to the demigod Brahma, who is the supreme personality of Godhead? Whom does death fear? By knowing whom does everything become known? Who created this world? So Brahma, although he created the world, he acknowledges to Krishna. He says here, you see, Krishna is the supreme personality. Death fears Govinda. By understanding Gopi Jana Vallabha, the word Gopi Jana Vallabha means the one who is very dear to the gopis. Vallabha means very dear, lover of the gopi, the Jan. Gopi Jana Vallabha, the life of the gopis. One who is very dear to the life of the gopis, that is Govinda. By understanding this personality, Gopi Jana Vallabha, everything becomes known. By pronouncing the word Swaha, the personality of Godhead created the world. Lord Brahma says I'm not sure who is telling them, but this is the verse. So now we've heard how personalities, great personalities have said so. It is the conclusion of the Vedas, it is the conclusion of Vedanta, and it is the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that we have understood as they all have the same consistent point. What else is the reason that we accept Krishna as God? So Krishna, he knows that some people don't like to accept it from the third party. So therefore, he directly says himself. He directly tells it himself. So no other person, Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or Durga or no other personality declares himself as the Supreme Lord, except Lord Krishna. Here, you can see in Bhagavad Gita, you will find. As time and death personified. So Lord Krishna, I've categorized in which ways Krishna has declared himself as the Supreme. So first of all, he declares himself as time and death personified. So these are the verses. I won't go into each of them, it will take too much time. But these are all from Bhagavad Gita. I am immortality. I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. So Krishna says this. I am all devouring death. I am the generating principle. I am not only death, I am also the birth. So this is what Krishna says in 10:34. The Supreme God says, time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds. So here is these are all verses from the Gita. And then Krishna declares that he is the source of everything. So here are a collection of verses which are evidence to show how Krishna declares directly. So I think once Mataji, Devaki Mataji, I believe, she asked me, is there anywhere that the Lord declares himself as the Lord of everything? So these are verses where he says, ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, supreme Lord of all planets and devatas, right? The famous verse, this is 529, the peace formula. Very important verse for us to memorize. And then 710, here he says, I am the original seed of all existences. And here, understanding that the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. And then he says, I am the super soul. Here he says, he is Paramatma, seated in every living entity. He is the beginning, I am the middle, and I am the end of all beings. So then even more verses, actually there are many verses. I've just put a few collection. I am the source of spirit and matter. So this we already know. I am the generating seed of all existence, the non-moving and the moving. Everything that is opulent, beautiful, glorious, or great is coming from a part of me. And I am the seed-giving Father. So therefore, this is Krishna himself is declaring. And Krishna then, he goes on to say that not only everything comes from him, he is also the proprietor. That means he takes care, he controls, and he enjoys. He's the ultimate enjoyer, and he is also the ultimate friend, the well-wisher for all of us. So here, these are some verses, right? The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, everything is working perfectly, right? I am the father of the universe. I am also the mother. I am also the support. I am also the great-grandfather. I am the subject of knowledge, the purifier and the syllable. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. So this is what Krishna says here in the Gita. No one is equal or higher. So this is another point, which is Krishna directly acknowledging it. He's saying, because it is I, the personality, who was existing before creation. There was nothing but myself. So Krishna himself says this. The Vedas initially said so, right? Remember, initially it says there was nothing else but Narayana. So here Krishna says, I am the original. There is no, this is a very important verse, 7.7. It says here, see, sometimes in scripture, there may be one truth, and then there may be a higher truth, and then there may be the highest truth. So here Krishna is saying, there is no truth superior to me. So here he's declaring that the highest, greatest truth is Krishna. There is nothing, he's the end. There is nothing beyond him. No truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, right? I am the goal, sustainer, master, witness, abode, refuge, and the most dear friend. So always remember, he is the most dear friend. Suhurdam sarva bhutanam. I am the creation and annihilation, basis of everything, and the source of Brahman and object of the Vedas. So I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. So from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Sarva Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vidyo. Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Indeed, I am also the compiler of Vedanta. So here's the proof. I am the knower of the Vedas. So Vedas are not man-made. They are directly coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so the Vedas say so, great personalities say so, all right? But beyond that, we also have the great teachers who say so. These are the great teachers because the great acharyas say so, the great gurus down the line. This is modern contemporary, 1000 years ago, right? We have Shankara. This is what Shankara says. After, you know, people like to say a lot of different things. They come up with all kinds of philosophy. So what Shankara did, one of the main contributions of Shankara is he refuted atheism. He went about India in the beginning of the 1000 years ago. At that time, Buddhism was on the rise. So people were going towards atheism because ultimately Buddhist philosophy is atheistic. They reject the material world and they give up all these things, but they do not know who to surrender to. So therefore their philosophy is pretty much atheistic. So Shankara, he was responsible to re-establish the Vedic scriptures and push Buddhism completely out of India's borders. So then after that, you can see Buddhism spreading to outside India, towards Myanmar, you know, Japan, China, Thailand, and then to Nepal, Bhutan, so outside India. So anyway, this is what Shankaracharya says. After he went about to so many places, he defeated so many people in debate and in argument. So ultimately he told them, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Mudamate, Namasmarana Dhanya Mupayam, Nahi Pasyamo Bhavatharane. So what he says, this is a poem, this is a bhajan which Shankaracharya wrote. This is Shankaracharya. He says, Bhaja Govinda, praise Govinda, praise Govinda, Govinda be praised. Oh, you mindless fool. He's telling all those people who argued with him. Say, all your word jugglery, all your arguments, all your philosophy is not going to save you at the time of death. The only thing that's going to save you at the time of death is Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda. Oh, foolish persons, take this up. So that's what Shankara was saying to everybody. So then, of course, a few hundred years later, we had Madhvacharya. He's a very, very strong personality. And Madhvacharya, he clearly established dualism. Two, you can see his fingers holding two. It's very, very interesting to go through the history of all these personalities. One fine day, we will talk about the detailed discussion about these great acharyas. These are all acharyas coming down from the sampradayas, which are described in the Padma Purana. So Madhvacharya is the founder of our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Our ISKCON comes from Madhvacharya. Of course, then we also have Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya, this is Ramanujacharya, very famous in South India. And this is few hundred years later. He went all about, he established the 108 Divya Deshams, the 108 temples in India, you know, like Sri Rangam and all these other places, established proper worship etiquette, proper rituals, and very, very sweet, his teachings. So like that, then we have Nimbarkacharya. We have Vishnu Swami of the Rudra Sampradaya. And then, of course, we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Lord Krishna himself, who came to combine all these four sampradayas and to give the highest goal of God. So the great acharyas, they have all said the same thing. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is the ultimate goal. So why else do we accept Krishna? Okay, let's say if we just study the histories, if we just read Mahabharata, or if we just read some Ramayana, why do we worship the Supreme Lord? Because he does both the impossible and the inconceivable. So Lord Krishna is, we can see, he is not ordinary. Simply by reading Mahabharata, we can see all the wonderful things that Lord Krishna had done. If you read the Srimad Bhagavatam also, you will have lots of information of what Krishna has done in his life. What are the things he has done? So of course he has done many things, but here I am trying to classify 2 points. He has done the impossible and he has done the inconceivable. What cannot be done by other people, he has done, not just once, but many, many, many times. And what we cannot even imagine, he has done. Inconceivable. So impossible and inconceivable. Inconceivable means achintya, cannot be conceived, cannot be understood. It's beyond our understanding. So for example, right, Krishna came as Rama in his incarnation as a human being, and he killed demons. Oops, just a moment. Okay. So he came and killed demons in a human form, not in a very fantastic form, not in a forearm form or anything like that. In a simple human form, he killed demons, great powerful demons, like Dhenukasura, the donkey demon, right? Then there was a Bakasura, the great bird, the demon in the form of a bird. And then the great elephant, Kuvalayapida demon. So like that, he killed demons in different forms. The bull demon, Aristasura, the snake demon, Kaliya. The snake demon is Agasura. Kaliya is the serpent demon, poisonous serpent demon. So like that, so many different demons he killed. And then the king of all those demons, Kamsa, he killed him also. So impossible for human beings to do, but he did it. And then he came as a fish to save humanity, to save Vedas. In his form as the Matsya avatar, he came to save humanity from the flood. The entire world was covered with flood waters, and the Vedas were lost. And Matsya, he came as the fish incarnation. He came to King Satyavrata, and Satyavrata, the king of the world at that time, he told him he should build a boat. Now, I mentioned this before previously also. And in this way, he was guided and they were saved. So impossible, inconceivable. And then he came as a tortoise to balance the mountain, the Mandara mountain, in the churning of the milk ocean. So impossible things for normal people to understand, inconceivable. He came as a Brahmana to kill Kshatriyas. Now this statement is very strange. Usually it is the Kshatriyas who kill, not the Brahmanas. And Kshatriyas are to protect the Brahmanas, but he came as a Brahmana to kill the Kshatriyas. So that's a very interesting story and purpose behind this point, which we don't have time to discuss today. I'm talking about the Parashuram incarnation. Krishna came as Parashuram. And then in this way, he killed all the different Kshatriyas, the demonic Kshatriyas. 21 generations of Kshatriyas, he killed them so that the adharma can be destroyed. Because the Kshatriyas, they were misusing their powers. They were misusing their ability to create adharma. So it created the burden to the earth. So knowing that Kali Yuga is about to take place, Parasuram came to do this. So as a Brahmana, he killed the Kshatriyas. Very interesting. So stories are there in the Puranas. Mahabharata talks about them also. Ramayana also talks about how Parashuram came to kill the Kshatriyas. And then as a mere baby, he killed demons. So Krishna is not the type of God who had to meditate and then eventually, some people will say, I am going to become God. So Krishna is not like that. Right from day one, from baby, he was able to kill the demon, Putana. Putana came to give milk. And Krishna was just less than a year old, few months, and he was able to kill Putana easily. And Krishna, he is one who can do all kinds of things and all kinds of things which are normally frowned upon by people and still become very famous and still become worshipped for it. For example, for a Kshatriya to run away from battle is considered very cowardly. But Krishna, there was one incident where he ran away from battle. It's a very sweet incident. One day we will talk about it. So there was this demon called, what's his name? Jarasandha. Jarasandha demon. And this Actually, Krishna defeated Jarasandha demon many times. Okay, I won't go into the details of that story. We will keep it for some other time. But anyway, he ran away from battle for a particular. There was a purpose why he ran away. That's not the only battle. He ran away from another battle also. He was fighting the demon Kalayavana, and during that time also he ran away from battle. There was a purpose why he did that. But anyway, running from battle, he became famous. And not only he became famous, he became worshipped for that. So Krishna is known as Rancho Rai. So in some temple, if you go to India, there are some temples in India where Krishna is worshipped in this particular form as Rancho Rai, the one who ran away from battle. So then, even by stealing, Krishna becomes famous. So if we steal, if we run away from battle, we will be court-martialed. We will be put into prison. But Krishna can steal and he can become famous. So what are the incidents which he stole? He stole the butter, right? And he became famous as Damodara, how Mother Yashoda caught him. And he stole the garments of the gopis. Therefore, he is known as Vashtra Hari. That means Hari also means stealing. The word Hari means stealing, thief. So he is the thief of the clothes. Vashtra Hari of the gopis. Gopi Vashtra Hari. So that's one of the names Krishna is known for, and he's famous for it. And he is also known as the one who stole the hearts of the gopis. So in this way, Krishna can steal and still become very famous. And Krishna, by not fighting the Mahabharata war, he joined the Mahabharata war, but he didn't fight. And yet he won. So it was Krishna's goal. Krishna is the one who wanted the Pandavas to win. And without fighting, he was able to win the war. So who other than Krishna can do this? So therefore, he can do the impossible. Many stories in the Mahabharata war, how Krishna saved the Pandavas from impossible situations. If you read Mahabharata, you will find very nice. And here we can see Krishna, how he was able to cross the entire universe simply by 3 steps. First step, second step, third step, he crossed the entire universe from the lower. With the first step, he covered the entire lower planetary systems. With the second step, he covered the entire upper planetary systems. And with the third step, he put on the head of Bali Maharaj. So I'm talking about the incarnation of Trivikrama or Upendra. You know, if there are Malayalis here, any Malayalis? I'm sure there are. So if there are, usually they celebrate Onam, isn't it? So the festival of Onam is to glorify this pastime of Trivikrama or Upendra, how he came as the dwarf incarnation. And he covered the entire universe. So this is an impossible situation. Nobody thought that Krishna, the Lord, will defeat Bali Maharaj in this way. So one day we will talk about that story also. So there are many stories, and these are all perfectly described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially in Canto 10. Creates universes simply by breathing and sleeping. Can anyone create universes by breathing and sleeping? So this one I will explain a little today in a short while. So therefore, he is known as Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the original personality of Godhead. So previously in level 1, we talked about the word Bhagavan. How is Krishna known as Bhagavan? Bhagavan means one who possesses Bhaga. Bhaga means opulence. So there are 6 types of opulence, right? There is Aishwarya. We discussed this in level 1 already. We are just remembering. I'll just quickly go through. You know, he possesses Aishwarya. What is Aishwarya? Aishwarya means all material opulence. So Vaikunta, Goloka, all these places are, you know, valuable jewels are strewn on the ground like stones. Everywhere it's gold. And there are wish-fulfilling trees and wish-fulfilling cows. And the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, serves the Supreme Lord directly. So he has all Aishwarya. So this is another reason why he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is all Virya. Here I'm showing you a picture. This is the picture of Trivikrama. Just now I said how he covered the entire universe by the 3 steps. This is the picture, right? So you can see how he defeated Kaliya, how he humbled Indra's pride by lifting the Govardhan hill effortlessly with a left hand finger. He didn't have to perform yoga and all kinds of things and then eventually become God. Just at 7 years old, he was able to lift the Govardhan hill. So that is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yashasha, fame. Nobody is as famous as the Supreme Lord. In other words, nobody has as many good qualities as the Supreme Lord. He is the fountain or the fountainhead of all good qualities. Yashasha. And here we can see Bhagavan, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse. Bhagavan, unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes, is called Ananta. He has so many qualities that it is endless. Therefore, he is known as endless, Ananta, a name for him. You have so many qualities, you are just called endless, Ananta. So like that, he's given a name. It is now ascertained that he is unlimited and there is none equal to him. Anati Sayanas, one of the words used to describe the Supreme Lord. Consequently, no one can speak of him adequately. So I'm trying on Ekadasi, I'm trying my best to glorify the Supreme Lord. And we are trying to hear also. So, but I do not have enough mouths or enough tongues. Even Ananta Sesh, who is having millions of hoods and millions of mouths, and he himself has not come to the end of the glories of the Supreme Lord. So this is described and sung in the scriptures. He is Shriya, all beauty, good fortune, beauty, youth, everything resides in the Supreme Lord. You know, here I'm showing you the picture of Krishna. When Lord Ram came previously, the sages of the Dandakaranya forest, there were many sages who were all meditating. They saw Lord Ram and they became completely fallen. Sorry, not fallen. They completely fell for him. He was so beautiful that they attracted him. And they all wanted to immediately give up their position as sages and become his wife. Can you imagine? They wanted to have that kind of relationship with Lord Ram. Lord Ram was so beautiful. He's the epitome of masculine beauty. But Lord Ram said, no. So they all wanted to take forms as gopis or take forms as ladies and enjoy this kind of relationship with the Supreme Lord in servitude of the Lord. This is not an ordinary servitude. It's a very confidential and a very sweet servitude. It's called Madhurya Rasa. And it's not to be discussed at our stage. It is something which is discussed when someone is already purified, when one is already removed from the aspects of lust, when that's no longer in the heart. That time, these great souls, they relish this kind of pastimes of Madhurya Rasa, sweetness or conjugal relationship. So anyway, these sages, they approached Lord Ram in prayer, and Lord Ram said, no, in this incarnation, I have taken the vow of Eka Patni Vrata, only one wife. Because Lord Ram came as an ideal example, Maryada Purushottama. So Lord Ram said, don't worry, in my next appearance, I will come as Krishna, my original personality. And at that time, I am not going to follow anything. I'm going to show everyone I am the supreme Swarat, independent Lord. That time, I will have relationships with all the different gopis. You all can take birth as the gopis also, and then come in this way and become queens and gopis. So like that, he is the reservoir of all beauty. So we have discussed this also previously. I will just quickly go through. Then we have the Lord is the reservoir of all jnana or knowledge or intelligence. right? We have already covered this. I will just go through quickly. So in other words, he is also omniscient. Omniscient means he knows everything, because there's Paramatma in our hearts. He knows what we are thinking. He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows our deepest desires. He knows everything that's going on in everybody's mind, in every living entity, in every corner of the universe. So that is the Supreme Lord. That's the standard of the Supreme Lord. And of course, he is also Vairagya, completely renounced, not affected by matter at all. He is the supreme Swarat. He is the ultimate controller. He is supremely independent. He is not dependent on anyone. So therefore, we have this story like how Lakshmi, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, whose glance and grace was sought by other devatas, including Lord Brahma, but she surrendered to Krishna, the Lord Vishnu in that form. She gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers, in the Aravinda Vanam, in the forest of lotuses. She was residing there. She gave up that forest for the lotus feet of Narayana, so that she could always serve the lotus feet of Narayana. And even great devatas want to obtain the favor of Lakshmi by prayers. But this goddess renders service unto the Lord, unto Narayana, although Narayana himself is unwilling to have such a service. So this verse indicates the Vairagya, the renunciation of the Lord. Even though everyone else is hankering after Lakshmi, this is the nature, right? But Narayana or Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he is aloof. He is not affected. So he is completely in Vairagya. So this is his opulence, right? Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but Mukunda? So this is the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. So another reason why we accept the Supreme Lord, Krishna, because he is the source of innumerable incarnations. So here's a nice verse. Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So what does it mean? The translation is, all of these incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. Now, don't worry about this. This is a bit technical. I will just give you a brief introduction a bit in a while. But whatever it is, in any incarnation, there are innumerable incarnations. But Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. So particularly the word Krishna is used. In the beginning of creation, so what do we mean by expansions and incarnations? So here I'm going to tell you about the incarnations of the Lord. Specifically, there are many incarnations, but we will categorize them into 6 categories. So this is described in scripture, right? So I'm describing one category first. So first, we talk about creation. So when we talk about creation, when the Lord takes forms, particular forms for the purpose of creation, then those forms are called Purusha Avatar. Purusha Avatar, right? So because Lord Krishna, he is eternally the supreme enjoyer. He doesn't do work. So therefore, in his position as the ultimate enjoyer, he doesn't do work. So of course, and his job is only to enjoy. So for the purpose of creation, he expands himself as, here I'm showing you the picture of what we call as Vishnu. Vishnu, the word Vishnu means all-pervading. The very word Vishnu means all-pervading, very large. So this is the first the first Purusha avatar. He is known as Karana Dakashayi Vishnu. This is the word Karano Dakashayi Vishnu. That means the Vishnu who is lying. Asayi. Asayi means lying down. He is lying down on the Karana Ocean. So this is an ocean which comes from the lotus feet of the Lord, and it inundates the volume of the universe which is there. And this ocean is called Karana Ocean. This is not a real ocean. It is an ocean of energy. So we cannot imagine. So this ocean of energy is called the ocean of causes, Karana. You know, Karana, in BM we say Karana, isn't it? Karana upper. So comes from the word Karana. Karana means the cause. What's the cause? So this ocean of causes, which is all his various energies, all ready to serve the Supreme Lord. And this Lord, in this form as Karana Dakashayi Vishnu, he lies on this ocean of these energies, Karana Ocean. And what happens? From every pore of his body, you know, we all have skin, right? In our skin, we have pores. So from every pore, how many pores do we have? Many, many pores, right? Uncountable pores, isn't it? So from every pore of the body of this Karana Dakashayi Vishnu, a bubble comes out, you know, from this ocean. And each bubble is a universe. So innumerable universes in the form of anda. Anda means bubble or an egg. Like that is coming out from the pores of his body. You can see the picture here, right? Maha Vishnu is lying down in yoga nidra, in yoga sleep. And in this way, bubbles of different universes. As Maha Vishnu exhales, the bubbles come out. As he inhales, the bubbles go back into his body. That is Maha Pralaya, Maha Destruction, when he inhales. So when he exhales, it all comes out and the bubbles form. So this is called Karana Dakashayi Vishnu. And he is also known as Maha Vishnu. So this is the first Purusha avatar of the Lord. And then here there's a verse. After that, a part of the Purusha, a fragment of this Karana Dakashayi Vishnu. So this Karana Dakashayi Vishnu further expands a smaller portion, right? And comes out as what is called Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu. So from Maha Vishnu or Karana Dakashayi Vishnu, he expands further and comes as Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu. And what does this Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu does? He enters into each universe. Remember, Mahavishnu or Karana Dakashayi Vishnu lying down, many universes coming out from his body, right? Like bubbles. And then this Mahavishnu, he enters into each universe. And that expansion where he enters into each universe is called Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu. The Vishnu who lies on the ocean of Garbha. Garbha means the ocean of birth. So therefore, from the ocean of birth, he lies down in each universe. You can see this egg, right? In each egg, Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu lies down, and from his navel comes the lotus. And from that lotus, Brahma is born. So therefore, he is called Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu, one who gives birth to everything. So Brahma comes from his lotus born. Brahma is lotus born. So that's why Vishnu is also known as Pankaja Nabha. Nabha means navel. Pankaja means lotus. The lotus navel one. Right? So here you can see this verse. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop the stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. So that's Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu. From Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu, Brahma is born. This is the Vishnu which lies within one universe, one bubble lies there. Okay. And then from this Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu, he further expands, one more expansion. And this expansion he goes into one planet in this universe. Within this universe, there are many, many planets. So there's one planet known as Shweta Dweep. Shweta Dweep is an ocean of milk which lies in Dhruva Loka. Dhruva Loka is like a planetary system, right? And in that planetary system, there is this Shweta Dweep, ocean of milk. Shweta means milk, right? And Dweep means island. There is an island, and in that island, this Shirodakashayi Vishnu sits there with Lakshmi in this kingdom, Vaikunta, within that Shweta Dweep. So this is where the Devatas, if they want to go and petition Lord Vishnu, they want to do any prayers to him, they go to this ocean, they go to these banks of this ocean and they worship him. They cannot go directly to Shwetadweep. They go to the banks of this ocean and they worship the Lord, and then the Lord will appear in this island. So this is Shirodaka. This is even more localized. From Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, which is very large, he further expands and enters into this Shweta Dweep, and from here he expands as Paramatma into every living entity's heart. Paramatma. So the Paramatma is also known as Shirodakashayi Vishnu, same Vishnu, right? So this is how the Lord expands. So these avatars of the Lord, the Karana Dakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Shirodakashayi Vishnu, these are all known as the Purusha avatars. So this is one category of avatar. So like that, there are many categories. There are 6. One can classify them as 6 categories. So one category is Purusha avatar, which I have already mentioned to you for the purpose of creation. And then there is also Guna avatar. Guna avatar is to control the 3 modes. The mode of goodness, controlled by Lord Vishnu. The mode of passion, controlled by Lord Brahma. And the mode of ignorance, controlled by Lord Shiva. So therefore, they are all also considered Guna avatars. So then there is Leela avatar. Leela avatar is, these are the Leela avatar. Leela means pastime. The Lord comes not for a particular purpose of creation or controlling the modes. He comes to show pastimes. And this is where actually it's very sweet. So he comes and performs various pastimes, leelas, and in this way he attracts the mind of the jivas. So these are Leela avatars. You can see here the picture, the various Dasa avatars. You know, he came as Varaha, he came as Narasimha, he came as Vamanadev, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Balaram. Directly he came as himself, right? So these are all Leelas. He performs Leelas. And then there's also Manvantara avatar for the purpose of controlling the yugas, Yuga avatar. And then like that, there are different avatars, right? So here I'm giving a very broad categorization. This becomes very technical. So I don't want to go into this in detail. Krishna, okay, maybe I'll skip this. So these are the different avatars. We will talk about this in detail some other time, okay? So these are in the detailed aspect of the different avatars. They are described in Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely. When we talk about Srimad Bhagavatam, that time we can go one by one for each of these avatars. So in short, let me just quickly go through them very quickly. It's 9:08 now. Give me about, we are almost done. I'll just go through this. Or maybe I will cover this the next time. So I don't want to go technical here. Right, I think I'll just cover this the next time, right? But this is just the main point here, the point which I'm trying to indicate here is, there are many categories of avatars which Krishna comes for various purposes. And they have been categorized like this in various forms. But ultimately, the ultimate source. So Krishna is also known as Avatari. He is not known as Avatar. He is known as Avatari. Avatari means the source of all avatars. Just like if we have a candle, the candle goes and lights other candles. So other candles also become bright. Some candles are smaller, some candles are not so, some candles are different sizes, right? But there is the original candle. So the original candle, Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam, Swayam means original, is this particular form of the Lord. And he expands in various other forms. For the purpose of creation, he comes as Vishnu to create and maintain and to annihilate. In this way, to control the gunas, he comes as the 3 guna avatars. And then in this way, he comes in various forms. But once in a day of Brahma, he comes as himself, as Krishna, as Avatari, just to attract all the jivas back to him. So like that. So one who is factually convinced. So what's the purpose? So now we are almost done. So the idea of understanding all these things, why do we hear about the glories of the Lord? Why do we need to know the greatness of the Lord? We should understand that ours is the only religion, the only scriptures, the only dharma which talks about in detail about how great God is. You know, we hear every day, 5 times a day, we hear Allahu Akbar, right? The translation is Allah is great, God is great, but it's a full stop at that point. They do not know what else to say. God is great, God is merciful, God is powerful, but beyond that, they don't know anything else. They do not know how great he is, how merciful he is, how he controls the universe, how he controls everything. All these details are not there, but it is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is there in the various Vedic scriptures. So it's important for us to understand how great Krishna is, how great he is wonderful, how great his energies are, so that what? This is the purpose. The purpose is this. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind. So we need to be factually convinced 100% without a doubt. What happens to us when we are convinced? When we are convinced, our faith becomes very strong. That's why Prahlad Maharaj, even in the face of so much of danger, he was never even once doubting that Krishna will save me. He was completely surrendered. So that's why Krishna waited until Draupadi raised both her arms. Initially, she was holding on to one arm, her sari. But when she let go both her arms and surrendered to the Lord, Krishna came as the sari and saved Draupadi. So our faith becomes very strong when we become convinced of Krishna's greatness, right? So that's why we need to hear about all these things. It builds our faith. And at the same time, it also purifies our heart. It removes all our anarthas, destroys our sins. And then we become very strong in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. Bhagavad Gita 10.7. And further, Srimad Bhagavatam elaborates, only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service to the lotus feet of the Lord, who carries the wheel of chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power and transcendence. So the Vedas try to describe, the scriptures try to say, but we cannot fully understand until we develop pure Ananya Bhakti. When we come to that stage, then we can understand Krishna's glory, Krishna's power, and his transcendence in full. So we need to have patience. So build our faith, and finally we can come to the level where we can see Krishna face to face and relish his glory and his greatness. Okay, so with that, we'd like to end today's topic on Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So before we end, let us give food for the soul. So today's Ekadasi, we all are very hungry. I've been trying to fast also. So I will break fast after this. So we let let's, instead of giving food for our body, we should also, on Ekadasi, we should, the idea is we should concentrate on giving food for the soul more than giving food for the body. That is the goal of Ekadasi. On this one day, you know, once in every, once in 2 weeks. So we try to remember our real goal of life. So let us chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Thank you so much for chanting. Let me just end by saying Krishna's name and his form are non-different. They are the same. To that extent that we have that faith, to that extent we will chant his names. So, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Any questions? Anyone wants to raise any points? So did you all enjoy your Ekadasi?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Anything you want to ask? Anything at all?
I just want to know how this, you know, all the Purusha avatar and all this kind of, so many avatars there. I want to have more clearer picture about it.
Okay.
Okay.
We will talk about that, Mataji. Yes.
All right.
All right, one day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
I got a question here.
Yes.
This Ekadasi comes every month, right?
Say again. What, Mataji?
How frequent Ekadasi comes?
Oh, Ekadasi. Ekadasi comes every 2 weeks. It's the 11th day of the moon. That means, you know, there is the Valar Para and the Tei Para, right? So on the 11th day, that will be Ekadasi. So it comes twice in a month. So in 1 year, 24 lah.
Okay, Prabhu. One more thing, Prabhu. I wanted to clear something.
Yeah. Yes.
Now the Maha Ekadasi that comes in December, normally there people in temples, in South India temples, they will be awake, you know, the whole night, you know.
Yes.
That is they call as Maha Ekadasi, Vaikunta Ekadasi. That comes in during Valarpirai, Ettaipirai.
I can't remember, but that's the one Mokshara, you know, before this Ekadasi, Mokshara Ekadasi, that's the one they call Vaikunta Ekadasi. It's a big celebration in
it's coming in January towards the end Margali month.
I have to see the calendar, Mataji. That is not Vaikunta, that is something else.
Vaikunta Ekadasi.
Because that one sometimes when we have leap year, like, you know, every 3 or 4 years there is a leap year. So when there is a leap year, there is a 13th month. So the 13th month gets slotted in between. So then the Ekadasi sometimes gets pushed towards January. So that's why sometimes it's celebrated, the Vaikunta, they sometimes celebrate in January. But usually it is in December.
Okay, right.
Prabhu, I got a question here. Can you please also share with us later, maybe, the do's and the don'ts during Ekadasi?
Okay. Actually, it's very simple. The don'ts are, don't eat grains. Grains means don't eat rice, no wheat, no oats, no what you call. Okay, if anyone wants to leave, they can leave. It's already getting late, but anyway, I'm okay. I can still talk, but please feel free to leave if you want to. I will record all this, so if you want to also hear it later, the last parts you can.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Right. So I'll just answer that question. So what I was saying, oh yeah, grains. So no grains. Grains means wheat, oats, rice. So no chapati, no rice, and all these things. So what do we eat then? We don't eat beans also. or we don't eat parupu, dal, all the legumes. So all this we avoid. So instead, what do we eat? We can eat, there are actually 4 categories, yeah. So the best way is to not eat anything at all, but that's a bit difficult for many of us, because sometimes we are working, we have families and everything like that. So, but that's first level, not eating anything at all, not drinking water also.
Okay.
But the second level is some people, they don't eat anything, but they drink water. Third level is they eat fruits and roots. So any kind of fruits and any kind of root, like, yam, tapioca, sweet potato, we can boil them, and then we can put with honey and we can eat that, or we can eat with coconut, and you can eat sugar. Sugar is also okay. Like that's the 4th type. We take fruits and roots and gur, vellam. You can eat vellam, chakra, all these things you can. So you can make something, there are many recipes. What I will do, I will forward again. Previously, I've sent a list of what are the things you can eat and you can't. I will send the table again. And then these are the don'ts, but more important than the don'ts is the do's. So we should try to chant more. We should try to, in some ways, try to give more emphasis for spirituality on that particular day. That means we can hear more, we can do some seva, we can do special arati or some special seva. We can offer nice things to the Lord. So these are things which we can do. We can have bhajans, we can have prayers, or we can have class like today. So today is very nice since we all are hearing, and I'm also having the opportunity to speak something about Krishna, glorification. You can also glorify Krishna to other people. So, or read Bhagavad Gita. So these are nice things which we can do on Ekadasi. Okay, Mataji, I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, and above all, we should try to avoid sin also. We should not try to, especially on this, we should avoid sin all the time, but especially on Ekadasi, we should avoid it. So this is something which we can do. And we should remember we are doing this for the pleasure of the Lord, the pleasure of Krishna, for his benefit, for his pleasure. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I will see you.
One more. Sorry.
Yes, Mataji.
Ekadasi, whenever I fast, I take water only, but then I have headaches, Prabhu.
Yeah, I know. I also get that sometimes. So what you could do, these things help me. I put oil on the head. Like before you bathe, you put oil and then you leave it for 1 hour. Coconut oil is best. And after that, you try bathing, it helps. In fact, if you put oil on your head every day or even every few days, all this headache, migraine situation goes. You see how you can, but like I've tried doing it 3 times a week. I put oil on my head, leave it for 1 hour, then you bathe. Then you find these headaches are gone. Okay. And another thing you could do is also, if you feel you have headache, at least then initially you can try taking fruits. So that will help you. Or you can take nuts, milk, you can drink milk. So these things can, but if you still are determined to fast, then try the oil and also try pranayam, breathing through the nose, a bit of pranayam. It helps to clear the headache. And another thing you could try is mudra. I'll show you a mudra. You hold your fingers in a certain way. It's like this.
Okay.
Can you see? I'll post it in the WhatsApp group. You hold your fingers in a certain way, a mudra, and then you hold it like that for 10 minutes. It clears migraine and headache. I'll share it later, Mataji. Okay. Maybe
you very
not
much.
now. Maybe not now because I'm very hungry now. I'm going to go and eat. So I'll post it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. See you all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very good. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.